The baby stopped breathing just as the 24th doctor stepped back and lowered his eyes. Inside the private hospital wing, silence crashed harder than gunfire. The most feared mafia boss in the city stood frozen beside the tiny bed, staring at his dying son as machines screamed and nurses rushed in panic. His hands, the same hands that had built an empire and destroyed enemies without mercy, began to shake for the first time in years. Across the room, a poor maid clutched her young daughter's shoulder, trying to stay invisible. She had only come to clean the hallway. She was never supposed to witness the powerful boss falling apart. And she was certainly never supposed to hear the little girl whisper something that made the baby's mother go pale and made the mafia boss turn around like he had seen a ghost. Because the child did not say a random word. She spoke a secret no stranger should have known. Stay with us until the end of this emotional story. Leon Varela was the kind of mafia boss people feared without ever meeting. His name moved through the city like a warning. Judges delayed cases when they heard it. Rivals changed routes when his black convoy appeared. Even men who worked for him kept their voices low around him, as if loud words alone could wake something dangerous. But none of that power mattered on the 32nd floor of St. Aurelius Private Hospital. There, behind locked glass doors and armed guards, Leon stood beside a crib-sized intensive care bed where his 6-month-old son, Mateo, looked heartbreakingly small beneath wires, tubes, and blinking monitors. The baby's skin had turned pale. His breathing came in weak, uneven pulls. Every few seconds, the machine beside him let out a sharp warning sound that stabbed through the room. 24 doctors had already come and gone in the last 2 days. Cardiologists, pediatric specialists, foreign experts flown in at midnight. Men and women with perfect records, expensive degrees, and trembling hands. One by one, they studied the charts, reviewed the scans, adjusted medicine, and promised they were trying everything. One by one, they failed. Leon had stopped asking for reassurance. He no longer wanted hope dressed in polished language. He wanted his son alive. At the far side of the room stood Serena DeLuca, his elegant fiancée, dressed in cream silk that looked untouched by the chaos around her. Her lipstick was flawless. Her voice remained controlled. She kept dabbing her dry eyes with a tissue, but somehow never looked ruined enough for a woman watching a baby die. "The next specialist is landing in 20 minutes, she said softly. Leon did not look at her. "If he cannot save my son, he should stay on the plane." Serena swallowed. "Leon, please." The door opened again, and another doctor stepped out from the nursery station, face tight with defeat. He removed his gloves slowly, like a man delaying his own execution. "We are losing him," he admitted. "I am sorry." Leon turned his head. That was all. No shout. No threat. Just one cold look. The doctor lowered his eyes and walked away. Outside the intensive care suite, down the polished corridor, Elena Ruiz pushed a cleaning cart past the marble walls. She was a poor maid, a widow with tired shoulders and careful hands. She worked nights, cleaned silently, and avoided trouble because trouble had never once fed her child. Her 10-year-old daughter, Sophia, sat on a small stool in the corner near the supply closet, sketching in an old notebook while she waited for her mother's shift to end. Sophia was quiet, but not timid. She noticed everything. The shoes people wore, the lies hidden behind smiles, the way nurses whispered when they thought no one could hear. "Stay here," Elena told her gently. "Do not wander." "I know, Mama." But Sophia's dark eyes had already drifted toward the guarded hospital wing. She had seen rich people before. Angry people too. But tonight felt different. Men in black suits stood like statues outside one room. Nurses ran in and out with frightened faces. A woman in expensive clothes kept giving orders even though she was not a doctor. And inside, through the narrow strip of glass, Sophia saw something she could not stop thinking about. A baby. Tiny. Helpless. Fighting to breathe. Her expression changed. She closed the notebook slowly. Elena noticed. "Sophia?" "The baby in that room," the girl said in a near whisper. "He is very sick." Elena's face tightened. "That is not our business." Sophia nodded, but her eyes remained fixed on the glass. Inside the suite, Leon finally did something no one in the city would have believed. He reached into the crib, touched 2 fingers to his son's tiny hand, and bent his head. "Mateo," he said, voice breaking under the word. "Stay?" The baby did not respond. The monitor let out another warning sound. And in the hallway, The poor maid's daughter stood up from her stool, staring toward the room as if she had just remembered something important, something no child her age should possibly know. The hallway outside the intensive care suite felt colder than the rest of the hospital. Sophia slowly stepped away from the stool, her small shoes making soft sounds against the polished floor. The guards standing outside the private wing barely noticed her at first. To them, she was just a child waiting for her mother's shift to end. But Sophia's eyes stayed locked on the glass window where the baby lay. Inside, the machines kept crying. Elena noticed her daughter moving and hurried forward, whispering sharply, "Sophia, stop. Come back here." But Sophia didn't move. "Mama, the baby is getting worse." Elena felt a chill run through her. "You don't know that." "I can hear it," Sophia said quietly. The guards exchanged confused looks. One of them finally stepped forward. "Miss, you cannot stand here." But before he could guide her away, another loud alarm sounded from inside the room. Through the glass, Leon Varela stiffened as doctors rushed toward the crib again. The machines flashed red lights. Nurses shouted instructions. "We're losing oxygen." Heart rate dropping. Serena's hand flew to her mouth. Leon looked like a statue carved from stone. But the fear in his eyes betrayed him. Outside the door, Sophia's breathing quickened. Then she said something that made her mother grab her arm in panic. "Mama, they are giving him the wrong medicine." Elena froze. "What did you say?" "The medicine," Sophia repeated softly. "The blue one. It's hurting him." Elena's heart began pounding. "Sophia, stop talking." But the girl was already staring at the 4-bag inside the room. One of the nurses noticed the small crowd forming outside the door and opened it slightly. "What is going on here?" Before Elena could drag her daughter away, Sophia spoke again. "He needs the other one." The nurse frowned. "Excuse me?" "The yellow vial," Sophia said, pointing through the glass. "Not the blue one." Inside the room, one of the doctors turned around. "What is she talking about?" Leon Varela slowly lifted his head. His dark eyes moved toward the door. The nurse looked irritated. "This is a restricted." "Wait." Leon's voice cut through the room like a blade. Everyone went silent. He stepped toward the door, towering over the small girl standing in the hallway. The Mafia Boss studied Sophia's face with sharp suspicion. "Why would a child say that?" he asked quietly. Elena pulled her daughter back. "I'm so sorry, sir. She doesn't understand." But Sophia suddenly stepped forward again. "The baby's heart is weak," she said. The doctor stiffened. "The blue medicine slows it down too much," she continued. "That's why the alarm keeps happening." A heavy silence filled the hallway. One of the specialists frowned. "That's impossible. This is advanced pediatric treatment." Leon's eyes narrowed. "How do you know this?" Sophia hesitated. Then she whispered the sentence that made Serena suddenly go pale. "My father used to treat babies like him." Leon's expression hardened. "What is your father's name?" Sophia looked down. Elena quickly answered, voice trembling. He passed away years ago." But Sophia spoke again. "Dr. Adrian Ruiz." The reaction was instant. One of the older doctors gasped softly. Leon's eyes widened a fraction. Even Serena's confident mask cracked. Because Dr. Adrian Ruiz was not just any doctor. He had been the most brilliant pediatric cardiologist in the country, the only man who had ever developed an experimental treatment for Mateo's rare condition. And he had died under mysterious circumstances 5 years earlier. Leon leaned closer to the child. "Adrian Ruiz had no family," he said coldly. Elena's voice shook. "We stayed hidden." But Sophia whispered one final sentence that made the entire room fall into stunned silence. "My father said if a baby like this ever stops breathing." She looked directly at the 4-line connected to Mateo. "You must change the medicine immediately." Leon slowly turned toward the doctors. "Change it." The lead specialist hesitated. "Sir, with respect." Leon's voice dropped to a terrifying whisper. 24 doctors have already failed my son." His eyes moved back to Sophia. "But this child has not." The room erupted into movement as doctors rushed toward the medicine tray. And in the corner of the room, Serena's perfectly calm expression slowly disappeared. Because the little girl had just revealed something she desperately hoped would stay buried forever. The room exploded into motion. Doctors rushed to the medication cart, while nurses adjusted the monitors. One of the specialists grabbed the yellow vial Sophia had pointed to, quickly scanning the label. "This is Ruiz's experimental compound," he murmured. "It was discontinued after his death." Leon's voice was cold and absolute. "Use it." The doctor hesitated only a second before replacing the blue medicine in Mateo's foreline. The new fluid began dripping slowly through the tube. Everyone watched the monitor. 3 seconds passed. 5. 7. Then the alarm sound softened. The baby's heart rate, which had been dangerously unstable, began climbing back toward normal. A nurse gasped. It's stabilizing. Another doctor leaned closer to the screen. Oxygen levels are improving. The room fell silent as the tiny chest of the Mafia Boss son finally rose in a deeper, steadier breath. Leon didn't move. He simply stared at his child. And for the first time in 2 days, Mateo's heartbeat sounded strong. Behind him, one of the doctors whispered in disbelief. That formula shouldn't even exist anymore. But it did. And somehow, a poor maid's daughter had known exactly when to use it. Leon slowly turned around. His eyes landed on Sophia again. The girl stood quietly beside her mother, her small hands gripping the edge of Alina's sleeve. She didn't look proud or frightened, only relieved. He will breathe better now, she said softly. One of the specialists stepped forward, stunned. How did you know that treatment? Sophia looked down. My father used to talk about it. Elena quickly pulled her closer. That's enough. But Leon was already studying them both with dangerous focus. Adrian Ruiz died 5 years ago, he said. Elena nodded slowly. Yes. And yet his daughter works in a hospital hallway as the child of a cleaning lady. Elena didn't answer. The silence said enough. Across the room, Serena suddenly spoke, her voice sharp. This is ridiculous. Everyone looked at her. She forced a laugh, though her fingers tightened around her purse. A random child walks in and suddenly knows secret medical treatments? This is absurd. But the doctors were already shaking their heads. The older specialist stepped forward. No, she is right. Serena's smile froze. That treatment was Dr. Ruiz's life's work, the doctor continued. Only a few people even knew it existed. Leon's gaze darkened. So why did the hospital stop using it? The doctor hesitated. Because Dr. Ruiz died before completing the research. Leon's eyes slowly moved toward Serena. You were on the hospital board at that time. Serena stiffened. That has nothing to do with this. But Leon's voice became dangerously quiet. Does it not? The room grew heavy with tension. Because everyone in the city knew something strange about Dr. Adrian Ruiz's death. He had died in a sudden car accident. But rumors whispered that his research had been about to expose a dangerous medical scandal involving powerful investors. Serena stepped closer to Leon, lowering her voice. This is not the time to dig into old stories. Mateo needs rest. But Leon didn't move. Instead, he turned back toward Sophia. Your father, he said slowly. Did he ever tell you why he was afraid before he died? Sophia hesitated. Elena's grip tightened on her shoulder. Sophia, don't. But the little girl looked up at Leon with serious eyes. Yes. Leon leaned closer. What did he say? Sophia swallowed. He said someone didn't want the medicine to exist. The air in the room seemed to freeze. Leon's gaze shifted toward Serena again. For the first time since the crisis began, the powerful Mafia boss looked truly suspicious. Serena stepped backward. This is insane. But the child's quiet voice cut through the silence once more. My father also said something else. Leon's expression hardened. What? Sophia pointed gently toward the 4 bag that had almost killed Mateo. He said. She paused. That if the wrong people ever controlled the hospital, they might give the blue medicine instead. The doctors exchanged stunned looks. Because the blue medicine had indeed been approved by the hospital board. Approved by Serena. Leon's voice dropped into a whisper that made the entire room uneasy. Why would someone do that? Sophia's answer came quietly. My father said. Because the wrong medicine would slowly stop a weak baby's heart. And in that moment, every person in the room slowly turned to look at Serena. The room fell into a silence so heavy it felt suffocating. Every pair of eyes slowly turned toward Serena. For the first time since the crisis began, the elegant woman looked genuinely shaken. Her perfect composure cracked like glass under pressure. This is absurd, she said quickly, her voice sharper now. You're all listening to a child's imagination. But no one moved. The monitors beside Mateo continued their steady rhythm, proving that the baby was finally stable. The yellow medicine was working. Leon Varela stood completely still. Then he walked slowly toward Serena. Each step echoed through the quiet hospital room. You approved the hospital medication protocols, he said calmly. Serena forced a smile. Leon, please. You know how medical boards work. I don't personally control which drugs doctors choose. But Leon's eyes never left hers. You removed Ruiz's research after his death. That research was incomplete. You replaced it with the blue medicine. That was the hospital's recommendation. Leon leaned closer. And yet the moment we stopped using it, my son began breathing again. Serena's voice rose slightly. That doesn't prove anything. But one of the doctors spoke quietly. Actually, it proves quite a lot. The room shifted again, because now even the medical staff were staring at Serena with growing unease. Leon turned back toward Sophia. The little girl stood quietly beside her mother, her eyes still on the baby. You saved him, Leon said. Sophia shook her head softly. My father did. Leon was silent for a moment. Then something unexpected happened. The feared mafia boss knelt down in front of the small girl. The guards outside the door exchanged stunned looks. They had never seen their boss kneel for anyone. Leon spoke gently. Your father saved my son even after he was gone. Sophia gave a small nod. He always said babies deserve a chance. Leon stood again and looked at Elena. You will never clean another hospital floor again. Elena blinked in confusion. What? Your daughter belongs in a school that teaches her mind, not a hallway that ignores it. Tears filled the maid's eyes. Meanwhile, Serena stepped backward, realizing the room had completely turned against her. You cannot seriously believe this child over me, she said desperately. Leon's expression hardened. My son nearly died. Serena tried one final argument. I love you. Leon's reply came without hesitation. You love power. Guards moved forward. Serena's face went pale as they escorted her toward the door. But Leon no longer looked at her. His attention returned to the small crib where Mateo now slept peacefully, and to the quiet little girl whose whisper had changed everything. Because in a world ruled by fear and power, it was the courage of a poor maid's daughter that melted the heart of the most feared mafia boss in the city. And it made everyone in that hospital room cry.